technologies. Let's shift focus and talk about one of your special friends, someone that you went to school with and had the chance to meet again last weekend.
Well, I think many Canadians have probably heard by now of Captain Trevor Greene. Trevor and I went to university together. We both did our journalism studies at King's College in Halifax. He was a couple of years behind me, so I was a little bit older than him. But we knew each other and have a ton of mutual friends in common. And I saw him a few years ago at an event for a friend who had passed away, and it's one of those things where you kind of say, we kind of said hi in passing, but never really got a chance to talk. There were so many people around. He had arrived late. I was leaving right about when I was leaving, and I said, I'll talk to him next time. Well, the next time was actually last week, and in between time, he had gone to serve in Afghanistan. And at the time, when you go to university with people, you kind of lose track. And at the time, Facebook really wasn't in, so we really weren't sure exactly who was where and when. And at one point, the news came down the grapevine, and actually in the news, it was national news that a Captain Trevor Greene had been injured in Afghanistan, and he had been severely injured by he was meeting with some village elders with his troop. Sat down, took off his helmet as a sign of respect for the elders, and a kid, just a 16-year-old kid, if you can believe it or not, with a very large axe, jumped out, came up behind him and hit him in the head with an axe and severely injured him. What
did you do when you found that out, that it was your friend Trevor?
Well, we were all in shock. First of all, we all started calling and emailing each other, said, is it our Trevor? Is it the right Trevor? And unfortunately, it was. So what we did, I helped the Alumni Association craft a few messages to send out to people through urgent emails, because they were being inundated with a lot of telephone calls and emails wondering, is it our Trevor? And yes, it is our Trevor. And is he alive? What's going on? So since then, Trevor has made a remarkable recovery. He's in a wheelchair, but he's really battled back at the strength. I mean, his injuries were unbelievably severe. I mean, not to be too graphic, but there were, some parts of his brain were on the ground. I mean, we're talking a very severe injury here. And his comrades in the unit were just shocked that he was still alive, and they thought for sure that he would not survive, but he did. He's in a wheelchair now. He's a quadriplegic. And he's battled back from understandable depression, and his goal now is to walk down the aisle at his wedding, which they've scheduled, from what I understand, next year. But he's really you'd think that he'd be against the Afghanistan war and all that, but he thinks of the people there. He's not thinking of battles and guns and all that sort of stuff. He's thinking of the bigger picture, and that's what he made us think. And there was an event last week in Halifax.
Yeah, tell me about that.
And it was a motivational speech. It was called Victims to Victors. And the company I work for, Color, we were very fortunate to be able to help organize, publicize that, and work on the advertising and marketing. And he gave a speech on the importance of not abandoning the people of Afghanistan, especially the women and the children there. And there was another author, and her name escapes me. I had her sign. I bought her book, and she was an Afghani refugee, ended up in Moncton. And she's been back to Moncton, and I don't know if you've had her on the show. You may want to think about having her on someday.
Yeah, we have.
You have her. I'm sure you have. Yeah, she's quite well known. But I got to talk to her, and she spoke as well. So he was just talking about the importance of not abandoning the women and the children, and especially the girls of Afghanistan. The Taliban is very, very oppressive against them and very violent, and they've been there and they've seen that. And we only know what we hear on TV and read in the newspapers, but it's real. And once you've seen it, he can't let it go. And even despite his injuries, what I wrote in the paper this week, he's not abandoning his post. He's speaking out on their behalf. And you'd think that after those injuries, he'd just say, look, sorry, I've done my part. But he's not. He's speaking out for them and making sure we don't forget them.
Did he share any of his own personal story?
He doesn't. Honestly, he has through. There's a fascinating documentary. It aired on CTV, part of the W5 program. In March, I believe. It's called Peace Warrior. If you can search for it online. I'm not sure if you can watch it online, but it will probably be rerun at some point. I'd urge everyone to watch that. But it shows his progress, and it's very, very, very touching. And you see his progress throughout the time of his injury from very, very severe up to where he's functional now. You know, you talk to him, he remembers people. He remembered me when I saw him at the event. We were all a little bit concerned he wouldn't remember us because of his injuries, but he remembered everyone. He had chats. He had memories of university. People chatted with him. He laughed. Because of his injuries, he's got a kind of a breathy whisper, is the way he talks, and there's a little bit of hesitancy as he gets his thoughts together. But he's great. He's great, and we're very proud of him and very happy that he's still with us. And he's an inspiration. And after we all came back, I think the tolerance for complaining for everyone who'd been there. You know, you come back and you hear someone saying, "Oh well, this and that is wrong in my life," and you're going, "Oh come on," you know. Here, sit down with Trevor for a few minutes. You know,
What was it like to see him?
It was very emotional. There were some people from the station here that I went to university with, and they were with me as well. And they were just crying and, you know, tears in our eyes. And it was the first we'd seen him on TV and we'd seen photos, but it was the first time we saw him in person. And it was like, okay, you're alive. You know, we see you in person and we talk to you, and, you know, friends going up to him and hugging him and kissing him, and he was so happy. And, you know, there's lots of photos that I took and are up on Facebook, and I put a few on my blog as well, and you can tell that he's very happy to be among his friends. And from what I've heard, he and his wife were extremely, just completely blown away and touched by the reaction. It was the first time they were back in Halifax.
How many from your class, your journalism class, were there?
Well, from my King's, I'm going to take in the whole King's community. There were about 20, I would think, that were there, and probably lots more that worked on it, other people that have seen him. But there were a good 20 to 25 people from King's who were there at the event. Now there was He also received an honorary degree from King's earlier in the day, so there were a lot more other people who saw him. But at the speech that night, at the motivational event, there were about 20, 25 of us, and we actually had VIP seating, which I didn't know. So are you part of the King's family? And we said yes, and we had VIP seating. That was very nice too. So we were all there and cheered him on. It was wonderful. It was really wonderful. I'd urge everyone to, you know, check out his story, and he has a huge social conscience.
Now, what about keeping in touch? Does he use the internet?
Yes. Oh, yes. He's on Facebook, and there's a website now called victimstovictors.ca. That's victims and the number 2, victims2victors.ca. That's a very complicated website. Victims2victors.ca, and that's the number 2 in the middle. And you can check out. So I believe he'll be doing more motivational speeches and things. He doesn't speak for a long time, but what he has to say, especially coming from his history, it's counterintuitive what he's telling you. You'd think he'd be saying, "Oh, let's just get out of there and look at me. You know, we should all be gone." He's saying, "No, we can't abandon these people." And you're sitting there, "Wow, you're saying that." You know, it must be serious.
What did you learn from his talk?
Well, what I learned from his talk is that looking at the big picture. I think what you just said a few minutes ago, looking at the big picture and not just saying, "Oh, woe is me. Oh, woe, everything's wrong with me." You have to look at the big picture and just say, "Look, there are things going on in this world that are bigger than me." And, you know, despite my plight, you know, we have to save these people and help them out, and maybe not be there forever, but still have to be there for now.
Why don't we take a bit of a musical